Welcome back as now we head to France for top-class sailing action as we bring you our first of two reports from the 470 World Championships.
Welcome to the 2013 470 World Championships in La Rochelle, France, which are taking place as part of the 470 class 50th anniversary celebrations. Over 600 sailors from more than 40 nations are in La Rochelle. The weather did not look too promising for the first day of the 5-race qualification series, with the first rain seen here in weeks. An overhead storm only added to the opening day tension in the boat park as sailors prepared their boats. Some seemed a little stressed, whilst for others, including 3-time world champion Matt Belcher, the morning routine was cool, calm and collected as he prepared under the watchful eyes of his iconic coach Viktor Kovalenko, who was celebrating his birthday. Many teams have already spent a couple of weeks here in La Rochelle in order to train and get used to the weather and the current, so today it is not the first day sailing for most of the teams. We start the day in the women's race course, where the 53 boats were split into yellow and blue fleets, racing in a steady breeze of around 15 knots and choppy waves. In the opening race, Lecointre and Giron had a clear lead from the start of the race and rounded the downwind gate in first, with Great Britain's Vegolin and McIntyre following in second, which these two teams held to the finish, with Vadlau and Ogar, the young Austrian pair, catching up to finish in fourth place, and 2008 Olympic champion Ressisi, who partnered with 2012 Olympic rower Cook, were in fifth. Race 2 was another easy win for Lecointre and Giron, who were clearly relishing the conditions. Over in the blue fleet, not the best opener for Croatia's Olympians Ninčević and Zupan, who scored a penalty after starting early. Taking the middle line start were Great Britain's Seabright and Carpenter, who took a clear lead. The rest of the fleet had a fairly even start, and heading upwind split across the left and right tracks as the wind increased to around 18 knots. Minutes after, and at the downwind gate, the Brazilian pair of Oliveira and Babachan were leading, with Mills and Clark in second, and the Dutch pair of Kiranaku and Van Ven in third. Not a lot of things changed till the end, and the Brazilians scored the bullet, filling themselves with confidence. Over on the men's race area, the fleet was split into 3 fleets, with the 114 teams seeded for this opening day based on past performance. A steadily increasing wind had reached gusts of up to 22 knots by their third race of the day. In the yellow fleet, the world #1 team of Belcher and Ryan had already secured 2 race wins, but took a slightly less impressive start in race 3. Just minutes after the start, the Australians found themselves blocked in the middle of the fleet, with the Greeks Mantis and Kayalis a few meters leeward. Both teams managed to recover with fast boat speed and were up at the front by the second rounding of the downwind gate. The Aussies pushed hard to get their third win, but the Greeks were just too far ahead and took the finishing gun. In the blue fleet, Fantella and Marinic of Croatia, who yesterday won the 470 Legends Trophy, started at the front and looked set to deliver another top 10 performance after a 2 and 8 in the previous 2 races. Austria's world #2 pair Schmid and Reitsteider steered a faultless upwind leg to round in second, just behind the Kiwi pair of Snow Hansen and Wilcox. After 3 races, Belcher Ryan lead the 470 men fleet, Labouchere Labert in second and Snow Hansen Wilcox in third. In the women, Alep Powery lead with Lecointre Giron second and China's Zhu and Yu in third. Welcome to race day 2 at the 470 World Championships and the concluding day of the 5-race qualification stage. A light and shifty breeze kept fleets ashore this morning, with teams spending time preparing their boats, relaxing with other teams and just waiting in the boat park. 116 teams competing in the 470 men's fleet, with 53 teams in the 470 women. Injury has forced out the gold medalists from the 470 Women Junior Worlds, Lemaitre and Retornaz from France, but the men's gold medalists Jordi Zama and Juan Herp from Spain are testing their fortunes in the senior 470 fleet too.
This week we started the World Championship with all the senior sailors, and the level is really high. There are all Olympics and we have to work a lot until get their level, but we are here for learning and keep growing as a sailors, and just our goal is to get inside the gold fleet and have the opportunity of sail with all these sailors in 3 days and learn of them.
With a stable breeze filling in around 1500 hours, teams headed off to the racecourse where the wind was around 10 knots. 38 nations are competing here in La Rochelle, representing all continents, including teams from China, Philippines, Angola, South Africa, Japan and Chile, to highlight a few. For 2013, many teams are just starting back into their Olympic campaigns, with the World's Championships proving an ideal benchmark of their international performance. The lineup in the men's yellow fleet includes many renowned teams, including the world #1 pair of Belcher and Ryan and Austria's Schmidt-Reichstatter. Hitting up with them off the start line were Brazil's Mendes and Thiessen. The Aussies sailed fast and managed once again to climb to the front of the pack in the middle of the first upwind, putting in another outstanding performance to add to their scoreline of 2 race wins and a second place. On to the downwind, and the Australians had extended their lead, with Israel's young team of Cohen and Froelich, who last week claimed the bronze medal at the Junior Worlds, in second, and Argentina's Olympic bronze medal pair close to them. The Aussies sailed their own race, with the Israelis and Argentinians choosing opposite sides of the downwind gate. As these two headed back upwind, the breeze increased and the right-hand side chosen offered up more pressure, helping the pair to take a second-place finish. The Blue Fleet were up on the track next, and after a general recall had an even start, with most of the teams choosing to take the left side of the upwind track, where the breeze was a bit stronger. The British pair of Rogers and Willis claimed the front of the pack early in the race, with Brownlee and Hauser from Switzerland close behind during the downwind. Further back in the fleet were the French 470 heroes Labouchere and Lebert, along with Croatia's Fantella and Marinitz. In the women's yellow fleet, Australia's 2008 Olympic gold medal helm Redchichi and new crew Cook, who competed in the rowing event at the 2012 Olympics, secured their first ever race win together in the day's opening race. Great Britain's Seabright and Carpenter sealed the second-placed finish, with Austria's Vadlau and Ogar finishing in 5th. Defending world champions and Olympic silver medalists Mills and Clark finished outside the top 10, but fought back to win the final race of the day. Shifty conditions were a challenge and brought some upset around the track. On to race day 3 at the 470 World Championships in La Rochelle, France, the first World Championships of the road to Rio. New faces are racing alongside some of the long-term campaigners and Olympians. But not everyone is racing towards an Olympic dream in 4 years' time. Many of the Asian teams competing here are focused on the Southeast Asian Games, which take place in Myanmar later this year, so the Worlds is ideal preparation. On to the first day of the 7-race final stage, with the fleet split into gold, silver and bronze in the 470 men, with 39 boats in each, and in the 470 women there are 27 boats in the gold fleet and 26 in the silver. A year after the 2012 Olympics, and all the top 470 teams are here in contention. Another familiar face in the boat park is the now retired Malcolm Page, who has been enjoying the 50-year celebrations.
To be 1 year on from the London Olympics, and I suppose to be back at the 50th anniversary of the 470, it's a pretty amazing thing for me. Obviously to achieve that second Olympic gold was my dream and what I was working for, certainly in that last 4 years after Beijing. So to be back here now, to be celebrating the class and its history is something really amazing. And I suppose the biggest feeling I feel from that is contentment. To, I suppose, achieve my personal goals, and then to be here and seeing such a special class and celebrating the history of it is an amazing thing, because it's been such a big part of my life. It's what I have been focusing on for such a very long time. London Olympics was 15 years in the making, Beijing was 11, and so you know, to be here and to be here in a more relaxed mode is a special thing.
Consistent results were hard to achieve, with leaderboard extremes knocked out by many teams, including Olympic gold medalists Ele and Powery, who delivered a 1st and 18th, and their teammates in the 470 men, Snow Hansen and Wilcox, who scored a 15th and 1st. Both the 470 men and women gold fleets were up on the Alpha course today, and milling around ahead of the start are the Croatian teams, 470 women's European champions Lecointre and Géron from France, China's Zhu and Yu, 2012 Olympic helm Labouchere and Crew Lebert from France, along with Sweden's 2012 Olympic helm Dahlberg and new crew Bergstrom, and the 2012 Olympic bronze medal pair from Argentina, Calabrese and De La Fuente. In the first race of the day in the 470 men gold fleet, France's 2012 Olympic helm Labouchere and Crew Lebert opted for the committee boat end of the start, a few metres to windward of Great Britain's Patience and Glanfield, along with the Swiss partnership of Brauchli and Hauser. All three headed up the right side of the track. Would this choice pay? The New Zealand pair of Saunders and Wilcox had a bad start and were way back in the fleet at the middle of the upwind leg. For the Croatians and Argentinians, who headed to the right, along with the Greeks, their choice was not the best. On to Mark II, and the British pair of Patience and Glanfield rounded ahead of Japan's Matsunaga and Yoshida, with Brauchli and Hauser in 3rd. Many of the teams who had been top of the leaderboard were by now relegated to the back of the fleet as they struggled to read the challenging conditions. Australia's Belcher and Ryan were back in 10th in the fleet. The downwind gate saw the Swiss pair up close with the British and Finland's Lindgren brothers chasing. But the race belonged to the British pair, who maintained their lead by a safe margin, with Finland in 2nd, Swiss in 3rd, and France's Gilbert and Guillaume in 4th. A tricky opening race which certainly shuffled the leaderboard on this first day of finals. The women's gold fleet started next with a fairly even start. Japan's Yoshida and Yoshioka opted for the pin end of the line, but it turned out to be a bad choice as the gusts and currents were more advantageous on the right side of the track. No surprise that the majority of the fleet chose to sail to the right, although those tacking a bit too late found themselves pushed back down the fleet, including the 2012 Olympic silver medalists Mills and Clark, and Poland's Skripalek and Wozik. Amongst those sailing the shifts well and choosing the right tactics were reigning Olympic gold medalists Ele and Powery from New Zealand, and Brazil's Oliveira and Babachan, who along with Italy's Caputo and Paolillo had a significant lead as they went through the downwind gate. China's Zhu and Yu were well up in the top 10, but some mistakes during the second upwind knocked them back, and they finished in 12th, which helped to push them out of the overall leaderboard top 3. At the front of the pack, the order stayed the same, with the top 3 advancing their lead even further by the finish. Austria's Vadelau and Ogar secured another top 5 finish as they seek to put themselves back on the podium and at least match the silver medal they recently secured at the 470 Europeans.
And we'll have more from the 470s in next week's show, but join us after the break for kite racing from Italy. See you in a couple of minutes.